Hey there, Dan Martell here, serial entrepreneur, investor, and creator of SaaS Academy. In this episode, I'm going to share with you how to create a content marketing strategy that attracts high quality customers and prospects. Now, you might be frustrated with having people show up, spending a lot of time on content that doesn't actually convert or even attract the right people. We're going to solve that in this video, and be sure to stay to the end where I'm going to share with you access to my winning webinar method, which will help you not only deliver content to your audience, but actually get you customers through that strategy. Let's get into it. Now, real quick, I've been building content marketing strategies for over a decade. I did it with my company, Flowtown. We built a blog that was generating 350,000 uniques per month, which was a primary channel for our SaaS product, Flowtown. Did it again with Clarity, where we got even more ninja and actually got the community to contribute the article. So built a whole content marketing and development process that essentially our experts created the content for the blog. And then more recently with essentially the Dan Martell website, my coaching business, using content to generate hundreds of new leads every week. High quality, very focused and motivated leads. And it's something that I teach my coaching clients that, you know, when we start off, I don't think that you should be spending all your time producing content. I think a lot of people just go full in without a strategy. What I show them is a whole different framework to allow them to spend the least amount of time, what I call the minimum effective dose, in regards to content that's gonna generate the biggest results and impact when it comes to generating leads and customers for your SaaS. So let's get into it. Number one, start with your ICP. Now, ICP stands for Ideal Customer Profile. Maybe you've heard the term avatar, core customer, etc. They all mean the same thing, but if you get that part wrong, if you don't understand who is your perfect customer, then the rest of it falls apart. So for example, when I start working with a new coaching client, the first thing we do is say, where are you at right now from a monthly recurring revenue point of view? Where do you want to be in 12 months? Get excited. Let's set a big audacious goal. Let's make it fun. And then ask ourselves, if we had to hang the business on one customer type, based on the product that we have, the speed to buy, you know, and the unmet needs of their market, who would that be? And we define them. We get really clear on the industry and the size of the business and the employee numbers and their specific pain and maybe some other technologies that they're using, so we can get really, really, really clear on who that customer is, and then we lock it in. We name them, and everything we talk about going forward in this episode is based on that. If you don't have that, recently I was working with a new client, and they were really having a hard time picking that person because they had such a broad horizontal product that they just felt like, oh, but if I choose that, then I might, you know, the bigger opportunity could be somewhere else. And all I said is, we don't need to make it a forever decision. We just need to make it for the next 12 months. And all we're trying to do is build up our MRR, build up our revenue so that we can then reinvest in growth and we can broaden our strategy. But if we don't pick today, the rest of the content is not going to support our marketing channel. It's not going to produce the results that you want. So number one, be sure to choose the right ideal customer profile. Number two, 5 frustrations. This is the way I think about it. Once we have that ICP, that customer profile, we give him a name. Let's call him John. We then got to ask ourselves, for John, what are the 5 frustrations that show up in his world as it pertains to his job? He could be the CEO, or he could have a role like, you know, leading the marketing department. And we got to ask ourselves, if we were sitting there as a fly on the wall, listening to John complain about the challenges that he's facing in his business, what are some of those frustrations, those challenges, those issues that John might be having that we can help him with our product? And that, to me, is the first core area that we need to focus on, is what are those 5 categories of frustrations that John's having, your ideal customer, so that we can start thinking about the types of content that we can produce. Because what we want to do, I call it chocolate broccoli, is we need to produce content that speaks to the chocolate, the need, the frustrations that John has, so that we can create a bridge, which I'm going to share how to do that, so that we can present the broccoli what we know John needs, which is our solution. So if you haven't figured out the 3 minimum, but ideally 5 frustration flows, that your ideal customer has. So for example, in my business, working with SaaS founders, it's things like churn, pricing, sales, team leadership, and obviously marketing, demand generation. Those are my 5. So all my different types of content kind of follows within those 5 frustration flows, because those are things that I can help them with, but I'm giving them the chocolate first. For example, I know content around top of funnel, marketing, etc. is going to produce way better engagement than something around retention and churn, but I also know that that's the chocolate and this is the broccoli. And the reason why we do those 5 is because our ideal customer profile could be in market for different pains that they're trying to solve at different times of the year. So if we just talk about one of those, then if they're not feeling that frustration, they're not going to engage with our content. But if we can figure out 3 to 5 of those frustration flows, then we're going to get John based on where he's at in the cycle of just being frustrated and looking for a solution to solve that problem. So figure out your 5. Number 3. Teach to solve. Here's the way I think about it. It's education-based marketing. It's one of the most powerful marketing strategies because not only do we create a lot of value up front, we actually build authority and thought leadership in our market, and we show our prospects that we know the problem that they're having and how to solve it. So the way I think about it is once we have those 5 frustration flows, we then want to ask ourselves, what are the 10 types of areas around that, different segments of pains or things that we could share with them to really educate them on becoming better at that area, or some maybe just go deeper on subcategories of challenges they're having around each one of those frustrations. Because if we get 10 for each 5, then that's, if we publish once a week, that's 50 pieces of content per year, and we create our whole content marketing schedule. So here's a way to think about it. Ask them, okay? Ryan Levesque, one of my coaching clients and a good friend of mine, has a book called Ask. And in the book, he talks about the SMIQ, the single most important question. And it's really asking your clients or your customers or the market, based on this challenge, you pick one of the 5, what is the single biggest challenge you have around solving that problem? So around that problem, what is the single biggest challenge you have solving that problem? And then you use that to create the articles around that. And the reason why I'm going to tell you in the next step is we want to really kind of explore the pains of our customers around that frustration from their words. Too often we create content based on what we think they want. We use terms that they don't use. We talk about things at a very detailed and technical level where they may not be at that level. So we need to make sure that we use their language, their words from the market, and use that to drive the content strategy itself. So these are the headlines of the blog posts or the videos that you're going to produce. Number 4, offer a bribe. So the big thing, no matter what kind of content you produce, right? Once you get the 5 frustration flows and you have this content strategy, kind of high level, the 10 articles for each one of them, you then got to ask yourself, what content bribe can I create, right? What I call in my world a beacon lead magnet. That's what I teach my coaching clients. What can I create that allows anybody that has one of those 5 frustrations, the solution to that frustration? And here's why. So if it's, let's say, churn, in my world, I have a framework called the Churn Buster Cheat Sheet. So anytime I talk about retention or increasing your expansion revenue or anything around kind of pricing, etc., I'm always going to offer the Churn Buster Cheat Sheet because that is the bribe for that piece of content that's going to fit the best. The reason I share this strategy with you because I think a lot of people just produce content, just continue to produce content, lead magnets, blog posts, etc., without a strategy. This framework is going to allow you to spend the least amount of time to get the biggest impact. So for me, the best lead magnets, or what I call a beacon lead magnet, has really, first part of it is that it's SAGE, okay? And I got this from my buddy Taki Moore. SAGE means simple or short, actionable, goal-oriented, and easy. The days of the 75-page ebooks or the ultimate blog post, that's great for top of funnel. But if we want to get somebody to download something we know can get them a result, just give them the checklist, the blueprint, etc. Short, actionable, goal-oriented, and easy. 3 parts, though, when we design this lead magnet. First part is position your product. Talk about who you are as an author and the product that you've built and how it helps clients. So that's the first page. Then you talk about solving the problem that you've promised. You made a promise for why they're downloading this thing. Give it to them. That's the middle part. And then at the end, you want to have a call to action, essentially saying, if you're having this problem, you've probably tried all these things. Our product will help get you these results. Click the button to start a trial or to schedule a demo. in the Beacon lead magnet, in the PDF, you need to have a call to action that clicks into your trial or your demo. So that way, think about it. We have top of funnel content that's producing really great information to help them. We have the call to action on that post to download our lead magnet, our Bribe. And then in there, we have a call to action to get them into our trial or our demo. That is why this process works so effectively. And number 5, write for you. Now, I'm not going to give you the template for how to create a great blog article and what's involved, but I will say this. Too often, I work with clients that come to me and they have a blog, and I look at the content and I go, who wrote this? And they're like, we hired a writer and we stopped about 2 months ago. It just wasn't producing anything. And I ask them a simple question. Would you read the content your writer wrote? And they go, no. If you aren't the first consumer of the content, then don't produce it. Like, to me, it's right for you. You write it because you really enjoy the research and understanding the problem so that you can use that to connect with the customer better so you can make better product decisions. So you solve it, you write it for yourself, and look at it as almost like producing content to learn more about your customer's pain, right? Because I really believe we need to fall in love with the problem. We don't want to fall in love with the solution because that's going to change around. But then, if you do that, great, because you're hopefully writing something you would read because you wrote it. Other than that, you hire writers to produce content. You need to make sure that they produce stuff that you would want to read, because if you don't want to read it, trust me, your prospects and the visitors don't want to read it either. It's just information. It's not marketing. So I also believe there's a Venn diagram between information and marketing content, right? So information content is just like about.com. Content marketing has a call to action, and that to me is the key differentiator. It has a CTA. So on the blog post, at the top third, you want to have a call to action to download your lead magnet. On the bottom, you want to have a big image of it with a big opt-in form so they can download it. And if you do that, not only does it attract the perfect ideal customer profile, you can also use it in your sales process to help prospects understand how your product can serve better. So it's even great for top, middle, and bottom of the funnel content for your sales team, or to use in your trial campaigns to really engage your customers. Incredible strategy, simple, minimum effective dose, essentially the 80-20 rule applied to content marketing. So quick recap. Number 1, start with your ICP, your ideal customer profile. Number 2, figure out their 5 frustrations that you can help them, that your product can help them with. 3, teach to solve. Make sure you ask them their challenges around those specific frustrations and educate them to build great marketing content. 4, offer a bribe. We need to create something that is short, actionable, goal-oriented, and easy that's going to get them to give us their email address. And number 5, we want to write for you, essentially for us. Either we write it because we're excited to learn, or B, that something you would want to read. As I mentioned at the beginning, I want to share with you access to an incredible training called the Winning Webinar Method. Recently, one of my clients, Trevor, used this webinar strategy to add an extra $1 million in new ARR to their business in 6 months. And the neat part is I've always trained my clients to do it for top of funnel marketing, but Trevor used it for selling his existing customers through an upsell strategy and a cross-sell. So it works for both lead generation, adding a ton of value, and also getting you new customers, as well as expanding your revenue to existing customers. It's awesome. Click the link below to get access to that. If you like this video, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment and let me know what part of this framework was the most valuable for you. As per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business, and I'll see you next Monday.
Perfect.
It's good, eh? It's just ridiculous.